Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to a brand new episode of JJ's One Man Podcast. This is my solo show where I talk about a variety of different things from throughout the gaming industry, the internet, and a whole bunch of other interesting and important stuff. Think of it kind of like my one man show, my one man monologue, very similar to William Shatner's Rocket Man, where it's just me sitting there with a light, not smoking a cigarette, but probably eating a piece of Pocky because I don't like smoking and stuff. But either way, I'm lightening up the mood. I'm being a little cheesy here because today I actually want to talk about something that's a little bit more serious, a little bit more sensitive, and something that I know that myself and a lot of other people don't really like diving into for a number of different reasons. Let's talk about politics in games because that seems to be a real hot topic right now, especially with the Division 2 that's coming out or really pretty much out at this point. I know a lot of people are playing it and actually, having different opinions about it, but I've actually been seeing a lot of the different articles go up on some of the major websites. I've seen a lot of, different YouTubers talking about the Division 2 and more specifically about the political discussion behind it. Really, in essence, it's really the stance of the developers not having any sort of quote unquote political stance, even though there are political things within the game itself. I mean, the game takes place in Washington. There's a lot of different stuff involving the government and all that type of jazz with the narrative. And I understand that there's a place and a time for that, especially in games and any other form of media. But really, it's the discussion outside of the game between different people, between the different outlets of games media, between different people on YouTube, content creators and stuff that I find most interesting and very troubling in some instances. Really, when you really crack things down and really slice things up, it really comes down to a certain section of people wanting games to be political in a sense where it kind of, validates or verifies their own political stances. Now, let me kind of give you guys, my perspective on this. I think that it's fine that games could get political. I think that it's fine for games to explore political topics or political debates or political discussions because there's always, something like that's always going to come up in any form of media. And I think that games are mature enough or video games are mature enough to be able to tackle those types of subjects and really kind of present them in a very eloquent, very interesting, very dynamic way, depending on the game, of course. Not all games are going to be as eloquent or they're not going to be as sophisticated with the type of debate or type of discussion or type of subject matter that they present, but there is still a good spectrum there, especially for gaming. So with politics, what I find very interesting and find very weird now these days is that the discussion about politics has become more important about the politics themselves, especially with video games and in the games media or in the gaming industry, I should say. Everybody has their stances. The video game industry itself tends to lean more to the left or take a lot of libertarian or very, leftist type of like ideas. I don't even understand a lot of these buzzwords most of the time because people throw them out all the time. And I feel like they don't even really understand what they're trying to say. Leftist or libertarian means that you take a lot of liberal stances in various different types of political discussions. For example, gay marriage is a very liberal stance. I believe also, healthcare and all types of like social security stuff is very similar to that leftist types of stance. And I know very conservative or very right-wing leading stuff is being a little bit much more conservative with your values. They take a lot more, conservative, more traditional stances on things. And when you really kind of break it down like that, it makes a little bit more sense, without the use of all these crazy buzzwords and stuff. But getting back to that issue at hand, really the discussion of the politics and the discussion about where people stand on certain issues is really taking center stage with a lot of these debates, a lot of these Twitter arguments or social media back and forths. Like there's a lot of different stuff where it's all about like where people are standing rather than the issues at hand. Like, again, I haven't played the Division 2 yet. I haven't really explored it. I was never really interested in it, but I'd pretty sure like some of the actual things that are made or the statements that are made within that game are probably not as bad as like some of the actual discussions or arguments you're probably seeing online about something like this or any of the other games that are out or coming out now, I should say, that have some sort of political stance or like tangential to political issues that are happening right now in 2019. So what I always found very annoying and very bad, and I think it's a very, something that everybody needs to be really worried about is that taking like, getting into these discussions where you're just trying to take jabs at people. I've talked about this several times on this show and a lot of my other shows and even some of my other vlogs and videos on the YouTube channel where a lot of the people that are very loud about these types of talks or these types of discussions and arguments, the ones that are being very loud are only just trying to take jabs at people. They're only just trying to be very vicious and very visceral and very nasty towards other people that are very different than them, whether they feel different about certain issues, whether they have a different perspective on stuff, or just for the simple fact that they want to be heard by the general public, whether it's on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or elsewhere in some of their content that they post on various different websites. They're just talking to talk. They're just talking to be heard. They're not actually trying to say something of importance that they want to bring to people. That's the real problem here when you get into discussions about politics, whether it's in games or otherwise, because everybody wants to be heard. Nobody wants to listen. Everybody wants to have their point made rather than actually take in or understand the other points of other perspectives. And that's very dangerous and that's very crappy. One thing that also sparked this kind of video or this type of discussion that I wanted to bring to you guys was Jim Sterling's video where he talked about the Division 2 and he was talking about politics, and he was like trying to make the point that the guys over at Ubisoft are quote unquote not trying to take a political stance, which I really think is more of a marketing type of thing because they want people to buy their game. I don't think they want to be very divisive, or they don't want to actually alienate other people or anger other people and prevent them from buying their game. I understand the point that he was trying to make, but I feel like also he's coming from a place where the Ubisoft and the Division are like making points within the narrative of that game that don't necessarily agree with his own political beliefs or his own political stances. And I see that from a lot of different outlets, whether it's a game like the Division 2, whether it's a game like Dead or Alive 6. I mean, that was a game not too long ago that I reviewed, and I was very open about it on social media, where I felt like that game wasn't getting its due because of all the crazy arguments and crazy stances people were trying to make about it that really had nothing to do with the game itself. Like, they were just judging it and condemning it just for the simple fact that there were scantily clad women in it, or that, again, like the series has always done, they've always been so kind of like open and loose about the women being scantily clad, even the guys too, but nobody really likes talking about that, funny enough, right? But again, I see a lot of these people online talking like this, or actually discussing things kind of like this, or taking that same type of perspective. And I find it very reductive. And I find it like very, it doesn't really help the issues at hand. I don't think that they're really trying to make a point. They're just trying to be in everybody's face. They're really trying to be nasty, even towards gamers or just their audience and their viewers in general. And I think that's kind of terrible. That's really, really bad. And it's very backwards when you're trying to make a really important point, or you're really trying to tackle such an important subject like politics in games. So where do I stand on everything else? I mean, do I think that, politics deserve to be in games? Like I said earlier, I think that they do, and they should be explored in every sort of medium. Do I think it's necessary for every single game to have a political stance? Absolutely not. You saw this with Spider-Man, which, again, there was a bunch of articles that came out about how Spider-Man was very friendly with the cops, which I thought was ridiculous. I was like, listen, this is a Spider-Man game. He's supposed to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It would make sense for him to befriend the cops in New York City. I mean, rather than everybody just trying to shoot him all the time. It's like, not everybody's trying to make a political stance against the police department in light of all the crazy stuff that happened in the news. Not everybody's trying to take a jab at the army, the United States Army, or any sort of world issue. I don't think that every game that's out there that's made, or the developers behind it, need to make some sort of political statement just because it's the hot trend right now. I find that to be really kind of bad, especially with a lot of different outlets and people that write at various outlets that are trying to make that actual statement or make that stance or make that point without actually saying it. Because it's kind of funny to me how you're going to go after the Division 2 for having either no political stance or having some sort of different political stance different from your own, and not really just try to observe the game as a whole, or actually see what other stuff that the game has to offer and just immediately just condemn it. And again, there's other games that I'm probably not thinking of right now that have very similar situations that are like that, where people are just condemning the game or reviewing the game harshly, or just trying to use the game as a scapegoat for one reason or another. I'm pretty sure you guys could think of some. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys think of any games that had similar issues here and there. But I find that to be terrible. That's not really trying to inform the audience. That's not really trying to actually have a fun discussion or have an interesting and thought-provoking discussion with your audience. That's just trying to actually, I think, take a jab at your audience and really take a jab at the developers and the creators of these games. So how do we make things a little bit better? How do we tackle it from a perspective or from a way that's actually going to contribute something better to the conversation, that's actually going to make the gaming industry look a lot better than what it's actually looked the last couple of years? I feel like that there's nothing wrong with putting out a lot of these different editorials. There's nothing wrong with putting out these podcasts questioning a lot of the different things that come up in some of these games, whether it's the stances of the developers, whether it's the content of the game itself, or even just some of the actual, like, symbolism or any other stuff that's involved with these games. But I don't think you should actually come at it from a place where you're just trying to take a swipe at everybody else or use it just to put yourself on a soapbox. It's funny enough because not too long ago I had Aiden Strahan on one of my shows, my Definitive Discussion Rebooted show, and we were talking about something very similar to this, if not this exact same thing, where people are just talking to talk and be heard rather than actually say something of substance and actually say something that people are going to get something out of. So hopefully things could change up a little bit. They could get a little bit better. That goes for both sides, both for games media. That also goes for content creators that are out there making videos on YouTube, talking about the games media, funny enough, and vice versa. It's just, again, it's a real mess. Everybody's trying to get caught up in the crossfire rather than actually, either win the war, quote unquote, which there really shouldn't even be a war, or actually do something of much more better and greater importance here, rather than just arguing with everybody else out there, especially about politics. That it's such a divisive, sensitive subject, and people just don't like talking about it. And I can't blame a lot of the consumers out there or the gamers not wanting to get involved with these types of discussions or these types of talks. It's very off-putting because you just know somebody out there is either going to get offended or going to get super sensitive and then turn the whole discussion into a full-fledged argument or debate that nobody really wants to be a part of. So anyway, those are just my thoughts. I'm rambling a little bit right now. I'm even getting tongue twisted. It's mad early over here when I'm actually filming this or recording this audio. So let me know what your guys' thoughts on all this stuff is in the comment section down below. Tell me if you guys like getting into political discussions about games, think that politics should be in games, or what type of politics stuff or political subjects you want to see games tackle, or anything of the sort, or anything about the games media and content creators, or any of these other stuff that I mentioned throughout this entire discussion. Don't forget to leave a like on this video, of course, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let me know what's good. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying all the different videos I've been posting up, especially from the Ultimate Gamer Miami. I have even more videos from that show going up very, very soon. I just put up the big video, the montage of like all the different types of footage that was there. It's not everything per se, but it is a whole lot of it that made it a cool 10 or 12 minute video. So definitely check it out when you guys get a chance. Anyway, I will talk to all of you guys again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.